Mojang have just made some pretty substantial changes to Minecraft Redstone, and I thought I would fiddle about with them and give my honest feedback. Now I want to start off by saying, of course, this is a snapshot, so none of these features are confirmed, and also, it's in the experiments tab, so they're extra, not confirmed. So there's absolutely no reason to get angry at Mojang for any of these changes. Mojang are clearly looking for constructive feedback, and I'm happy to give it. So these are the 5 things that I'm going to go through today, and let's get the dust rolling with the update order. We're definitely getting into the weeds a little bit early here, but when redstone dust is powered on or off, the block updates will travel from the source. Now to prove this, I've got a whole bunch of command blocks. They all have different numbers on them, counting from 1 to 10. 1 starts here, 10 is at the end, and if I press this button, you can see that they have done it in order. They have all outputted in order. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which I have to say seems pretty logical. I'm in an older version of Minecraft now, and if I hit this button, you can see the update order is completely different. It is consistent. This is not like a random order. It will be the same every single time I hit this button. It's just the update order is based on the location of the blocks in the world, which is what causes some redstone builds that rely on update order to be directional or locational. Mojang are trying to prevent that, and I mean, again, this seems logical to me. It also fixes some annoying, albeit totally avoidable situations, like for example, when you're powering a bunch of pistons underneath a line of regular blocks, some of them would get stuck powered due to quasi-connectivity and the update order being out of whack. Whereas now, we no longer need to use transparent blocks in this line. All of them will extend and retract properly. Wait a minute, I'm assuming if I put a line of droppers like this, and then place redstone on top of these droppers. Here goes, piece of yellow wool going in, piece of yellow wool comes out the end. Just to prove I am not lying to you here, look. I'm flicking through the lever, and then wool. Yeah, and that is because, obviously, even though all of this is happening in a single game tick, the update order now travels down the line, so all of these droppers are being powered one after another. This was not the case in previous versions of Minecraft. It was possible to make instant dropper lines. This is just significantly easier. I do have some questions. What happens in this situation? So we've got 2 command blocks, 1 and 2. Both of them get the same amount of redstone power. If I power them from this side, okay, so it is 1, 2, 2, 1. Alright, okay, that does make sense. Seems to be consistent as well. But in this situation where we have 3 over here, you can see that the 1 and 3 are interchangeable. They will change spots. 2 is always last, consistently last, but 1 and 3, the 2 command blocks that are parallel to the redstone line, it's 50-50 which one is going to be selected. So that brings me on to probably one of the biggest knee-jerk reactions that I had to these changes, which is that there is now randomness inside of Minecraft Java Redstone. So we've got 2 pistons both fighting to push their arms into the same spot. Both of them are receiving the redstone signal at exactly the same time with the same signal strength. And that means that neither of them have an update order preference. So then it becomes RNG. And now that I've thought about it some more, I still don't know how to feel about this. While randomness inside of redstone contraptions does seem a little bit scary, this is a real edge case. There are not that many times where I am trying to push 2 pistons into the same spot at exactly the same time. Like, I feel like I'm more likely to use this as a feature of a redstone contraption, actually make use of the randomness, than run into it by accident and be bamboozled by it. And having a redstone circuit that behaves differently depending on where you power it from could be really useful. Like, there could be situations where this is incredibly helpful. Now, I think before we move on to point number 2, it's important to note something. I've been making redstone contraptions for a very, very long time, and over the course of many Minecraft updates, these redstone contraptions have broken in a variety of different ways. Now, while this is frustrating when it happens, to me, that is just a symptom of a game that is constantly being updated and constantly changing. So in my opinion, we should never be against changes that require a little bit of redesigning of redstone contraptions, but there is a time and a place for being frustrated when redstone changes come along that make things that used to be possible impossible. So let's talk about point number 2, which is no block updates. As a lag preventing measure, redstone dust no longer causes block updates to surrounding blocks when it's powered or unpowered. In previous versions of the game, these pistons would have detected an update from this redstone line. Now this is an absolutely enormous change to the way that redstone dust works, and one of the big things that it affects is the ability to power pistons from above using transparent blocks. Now when it comes to extremely compact and extremely complicated redstone contraptions, there are plenty of opportunities for pistons to be powered in not so desirable ways. So often people use transparent blocks wherever possible to avoid those sorts of situations, and we can still do this, albeit in a much more expensive way by making use of copper bulbs, which will update the pistons as they get powered, and everything will work properly. The only issue being, there are some unique transparent blocks that now we cannot use in these situations. For example, again, in compact redstone contraptions, you have got redstone lines and circuits intersecting with one another all over the place, so it's very useful to be able to have observers in the mix. This observer line would be doing something else, but we can still power the pistons from above. I also use hoppers inside of redstone contraptions all the time for powering pistons because they are removable transparent blocks. So that means that if you've got slime blocks, say, attached to the front of this, the hopper wouldn't move, but it could still power the piston and only this piston. It wouldn't interact with any other pistons around it. Now I know that in this situation, this line still works because I've got the copper bulb here, but the point is, in previous Minecraft updates, I wouldn't have needed this copper bulb. Everything would work just fine without it. And that, unfortunately, is actually going to make certain things that were previously possible impossible. So if Mojang really wants to include these redstone changes in future Minecraft updates, I would really like a transparent, immovable block updating block to be added alongside them. But for me personally, the ideal situation is that redstone dust goes back to causing block updates to the components around it. I do understand wanting to optimize redstone dust, and I do understand that the optimization of redstone dust is a problem, but to me personally, it feels like this does more harm than good. And while I do agree that redstone dust causing block updates to things that are effectively 2 blocks away seems really janky and weird, it was also incredibly useful and has been in the game for an extremely long time. Now let's talk about zero-tick RNG and other bugs I've found. Okay, I want to start things off on a strong point because I was just playing around with this one. This is really reliably zero-ticking in all directions. Except, interestingly, it's directional when you've got a repeater running into it. But regardless, this is very positive. What I also find interesting is these little zero-tick pulse generators, we normally use a comparator to power the piston because a repeater has priority over comparators when it comes to update order. So a tiny amount of redstone power travels through the block before the piston extends. Well, now we can do that with repeaters. And it depends what side you power it from. So if we power it from this side, this one gets priority, which means that we get a 0-tick. But then if we power it from this side, we actually don't get the piston extending, even though some redstone signal does still creep through. And again, this is consistent regardless of orientation or position. So far, things are looking pretty good for the zero-tick pulse generators, but I received a message from Purplers, the redstone YouTuber, saying that there are some zero-tick pulse generators that are now giving random outputs, and this is an example of one of them. So you can see on this side over here, those 2 blocks got pushed. That time it was just the top one. Then it's the 2, then 1. It also seems to be directional. This one is consistent, and what's interesting is I can actually stack up redstone blocks here and get a 0-tick on this side as well, whereas I cannot do that on this side. It's curious. Now to me, all of the 0-tick randomness feels like buggy behavior, and hopefully this will all be fixed. It doesn't seem like a block update order situation. And I will say there does seem to be a handful of bugs in this snapshot. You can see here, this seems wrong. And what's extra strange is it's consistently wrong. So this time it's going this way. Again, these are experimental features inside of a snapshot. Plenty of things are subject to change. So now let's talk about minecarts. I'm always a little bit scared of working with minecarts in Minecraft just because they can be really odd. So Mojang is attempting to make them a little bit easier to use for your average Minecraft player, and they're also attempting to make them more exciting to use for the average Minecraft player. So it used to be when a minecart came off the end of a minecart rail, it would lose all of its velocity and just fall down to the ground. Now, it jumps. This is cool. This is like ridiculously cool. When I first started YouTube, minecart roller coasters were some of the most popular Minecraft videos that you could make. There was always at least one being shared around by everyone. They sort of died off over the years, but I think this change could single-handedly reignite the passion for them. So satisfying. We've also been given a command that allows us to set the max minecart speed, which I personally think is amazing. That is so funny. Oh my goodness. What happens if I break one of these blocks? Okay, that's amazing. Oh, I couldn't be more excited. I couldn't be more excited. Wow. So these Minecraft changes, they get a 10 out of 10 from me. But it's not all sunshine and roller coasters. The ability to stack minecarts has been removed. And this is something that gets used a lot in traps. It gets used a lot in technical redstone builds. If you want to remove items quickly from a chest, it looks like I'm doing it. Nah, there's only one minecart there. Now, I do know that you can stack them up by pushing them into place. This seems to function. But again, one of the most popular uses of the stacking minecart technique is for building traps. And as you can see, that does not work. That scared me. So yeah, I would definitely like the ability to stack up minecarts to be reintroduced into the game. We have, however, had another big win for minecarts, which is now you can have two minecart lines that are independent of one another. It used to be that these two minecarts, they'd rub up against one another, and then, yeah, you wouldn't be able to have them doing independent things. Things would get stuck, everything like that. That is now fixed. This is awesome. It is also now easier to get mobs to go into minecarts. That's a big win. I think I could say with some confidence that your average Minecraft player has just had a huge upgrade to minecarts and will be incredibly happy. A technical Minecraft player who mainly focuses on farms will be a little bit grumbly over the stacking hopper minecarts, but they should be able to get over it just by stacking them in a bit more of an annoying way. Someone who's interested in storage tech probably really upset, because I imagine lots of things are very broken and unfixable, and people who want to blow up their friends quickly and efficiently are absolutely devastated. So there we go. That is the experimental redstone changes in Snapshot 24W33A. It's a bit of a mixed bag. There's some things to be quite excited about. There's some things that make total sense. And then there's some things that I think could do with changing. I have passed my personal feedback onto Mojang. They can do with that what they will. And just remember, these are experimental changes. There is no point in being angry at Mojang at this point in time. They are looking for feedback, and if we can give it to them constructively, then they are more likely to take it on board. And with that, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya!